Hey, what's going on? It is me. I am here. Despite the rumors are not true. Actually, I don't know what you've heard. So the rumors might be true. Had a major drive failure at Arconics. We're back. We have redundancy. Everything is taken care of. But whenever that happens, oh boy, things get a little bit wacky. And wasn't able to actually do the webcast. But here we are now, and we are rock and rolling and excited and ready to kick some total rear end, do some AnimGym critiques, and get on with our lives. Okay, so if you don't know what the AnimGym is the monthly animation exercise on KennyRoy.com. Think of it like the 11-second club, but all KennyRoy.com members get a critique at the end of the month. And instead of taking on 11-second long animation shots, you do tests, little small exercises designed to make you get even practice on your entire workflow. That's the deal. That's the idea. And how well we're doing, well, I'll let you decide. I get some pretty good animation each month. This month we have 3 entries, and the topic was that stinks. It's animate your character reacting to a bad smell. Now, in true AnimGym fashion, we're not animating, or the idea, I haven't seen these yet. I like to get my gut reaction, so that it's sort of a off the cuff reaction, so you can see that first reaction to it, if this is your animation. Okay, so let's go ahead and start taking a look. Here we go. All right, first up, Jeremy Freeburg. Remember, this is the first time I'm seeing these, so here we go. I think I already know what this one is going to be making fun of. All right, here we go. Okay, right off the bat, my initial reaction to this is that when you're doing a seated character, especially if you're doing a seated character for a shot that is meant as practice, you want to be really, 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 really adventurous with the energy and the movement in that chair. Okay? Almost like Edna in The Incredibles. Or, I don't know, it's hard to think of examples off the top of my head. But you really want to have the character feel like they are completely free. The danger when you're animating a character sitting down is that everything is completely locked off. And with this amount of movement in his torso and his arm, and seeing basically his body completely almost dead, it does have a tiny little bit of breath of movement in it, but for the most part not moving at all, you're losing a lot. So what I like to advise is before you do a seated shot, your guy is sitting down on the ground, but even still, this makes sense. Before you do a seated shot, sit in chair in front of the mirror and do the performance. But see how much, first of all, just right like I am right now, see how much movement I have? I have so much movement, and this is just me rolling around on my hips, all right? But just swinging this, look how much my body is moving. It's not just the way the chair is kind of tilting. It's really the entire body reacting to what I'm doing, right? Especially if you're going to be swinging that arm. So my advice is always to do the action with your own body and see how much, when you're pushing that energy, when you're sort of performing it for yourself and you're kind of overdoing it with the energy, how much your body is actually reacting. Because for me personally, this looks just a bit too just a bit too stiff. You also kind of made your bed when you had him have like 3 things. Actually, well, this entire leg is kind of like anchored to the ground. His hand is, and this foot is. So you've got a lot of things that are actually kind of like visually anchored to the ground, and so you kind of made your bed when you made those decisions. The head is rotating far too much, just like on a pivot. There's not enough sort of like movement through the body and the neck. So as he's turning that head, that he makes, a little bit more of a natural head turn. It's just kind of like pivoting like an owl or a bird. Just some body mechanics problems throughout this, I would say. And just sort of as a little bit of a general note, and this is fine, you've got some animation done, and so all shots are practice. There's no such thing as working on a shot and it not being practice. So there you go. But that being said, kind of looking at this and seeing that you chose him to sit on the ground. Well, the maybe I didn't explain, maybe it wasn't perfectly clear, so I take a little bit of responsibility, but the topic was supposed to be a reaction to the smell. Not like he's sort of like trying to like cover it up or whatever. So if it's a bad smell and you're the kind of person that can't handle bad smells and so you have to like run away from it, then animating somebody like smelling it and then running away. If you if you're grossed out and you get like nauseous or dizzy, then showing them sort of like start stumbling and falling flat on their face or whatever. But in general, try to stretch. And this is a note for production as well. Like, you're going to get shots given to you from your director or producer, whoever is whoever you're working for. Try to put as much, or try to interpret everything that's said to you from the highest energy standpoint that you can, right? So if I say, especially when you're practicing, so if I say like animate somebody, reacting to a phone call, then in your mind immediately go to the highest energy. So like the stakes should be extremely high. It's got to be a phone call that they really want to answer or they really don't want to answer, okay? And so the phone rings. Animate them reacting to the phone ringing. Oh my gosh, I'm waiting to hear if I won $1 million. Then they're going to rush to the phone, they're going to scramble it and hit the button, right? Or if it's, news that they don't want to hear, they might, oh God, and maybe hold it away from their head and beep, and then like, okay, they're getting yelled at by their boss or whatever. You know what I mean? Go stakes times 1,000,000. Okay, and I think if you start thinking along those lines, I think you'll agree that the initial choice here to have a seated character sort of just fanning is not the highest energy choice you could have made, and sort of therefore not as much animation practice as you could have gotten. Decent though, not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but but there you go. Okay. And one last thing, especially while you're looking at this to improve it, get down on the ground and just see how much your feet move. I see a little bit of movement in your legs, but your feet aren't moving at all in the entire piece of animation. You'll be surprised. See how much your feet move, especially when you're doing like a pretty wild action with your arms. Okay. Thank you very much, Jeremy. All right, here we go. Daniel Gavis. Here we go. Okay, great. Nice high energy reaction. Nice nice and big, broad poses, very, 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 strong silhouettes throughout. I'm a little confused by the hand up here. Honestly, I'm a little confused by why it stays up there and sort of does this almost like, I don't know. I'm not sure what to call this reaction. That's how confused I guess I am by why the hand is sort of like hanging and like lilting right there. I get that. I would think that you would want to have your arc on that though a little bit more like away from his body and a little bit longer. It seems like he's swinging his hand almost like downwards, like he's pushing something off or down off of his body. I would think you would want to go, especially like in here. You also have a few little bit of, a little bit of weird posing in terms of the relationship of that elbow, that wrist right there definitely, and then the wrist looks like it almost rotates 180 degrees across one frame from right here to right here. Where is it? Actually, it's the frame before. From right here to right here. Anyway, so things are just probably a little bit of cleanup on all of those things. The arcs and smoothing out those poses would be good. I want to talk specifically about how you have him take these steps. One of the first ones actually makes sense to me, and I think I like it. Let me open this up in BLC because QuickTime hates it. Okay. So when he takes this first step, you have a lot of frames where you have both legs maxed out. Typically, both legs are not going to stay maxed out for very many frames. Typically, you're normally going to see a one leg maxed out like in the middle of an action, and it's normally going to be a transition of weight. Okay, so like for instance, if you have a character, a good example is if they are just taking one step to the side, there's going to be that moment where they come up on this leg, and as they're stepping over, they're going to extend with that leg, and it might straighten out, but it's not both legs. There's going to be a tiny little bit of bend in the one that's still holding them up. Okay, so the fact that you have both legs, what I call maxed out for so many frames in here, kind of doesn't make much sense. You do have it during a weight transfer. I'll give you that. Next, what happens is he does this tiny little push-up off of his leg, which kind of gives us the sense that the weight is moving up and that he could shift that foot, which he does, the screen right foot, right there. Okay, so that little bit of upward movement kind of makes it seem like, okay, yeah, he could catch his weight on that foot. That's enough time. I'll give you that. But then at the end of the shot, he kind of seems off balance to me, man. Neither QuickTime nor VLC. Actually, it was playing better in QuickTime. I was scrolling better in VLC. Let's just stick with QuickTime for now. Okay, so right at the very end where he takes a step, this screen right leg comes off of the ground, and you haven't supported it with a weight shift. Unfortunately, this foot would have to be planted, and there would have to be at least 2 or 3 frames of a weight shift before he could lift this front one back up again after this left one plants. Okay. Yeah. They're basically both in the air at the exact same time, and the weight shift is just not there. So, you know what? Honestly, this would be something that if I was directing this animation for like a TV spot or whatever it is, I would say this is just trying to cram some movement in at the end of this shot. Just take that last step out and maybe have like a little bit of a weight shift as we can continue movement. Chances are we're going to cut to a shot that's like either tighter or wider or a different angle or something like that, where that sort of action, that motion across the cut, we can kind of play with it and we can make it work. But yeah, this seems like just one too many ideas, crammed into the one shot. Overall, the posing feels a little stiff in the body. I did say that you have nice silhouettes, but that is kind of a little bit easier than getting nice silhouettes and good posing. And the difference is that with a character with such a lean torso and prominent arms and legs, you kind of can get those really super, like hieroglyphic kind of very iconic outlines, and the silhouettes are always very, very strong. The posing, however, is a little stiff, especially in this middle section where he's gagging and moving his hand away. The up and down motion in his body should have a little bit of an effect throughout his spine and his head. It seems like he's merely just shaking his head, holding onto his nose, whereas you could do as much detail as you want really in that section. You could have him looking like he's coughing and then shaking his head and then kind of like going back to coughing, or the other way around, or a lot. It seems like a little bit of just like kind of like stiff stiffness. He looks almost just kind of locked in this leaned over position is kind of what I'm trying to say, okay? Where there are a lot of opportunities to do some posing in there, okay? I think I'll leave it at that. Again, decent. Yeah, I'm glad you worked on this. You know, it needs a little bit more work. Maybe you can polish this up and show me again sometime. But definitely right off the bat, a good high energy choice for this animated moment. So thank you very much, Daniel. Good job. James Cordero. Here we go. Okay, great, James. Very, 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 very clear. Super clear. Though I will say this: the a lot of what is missing from animation, especially in animation that is I don't know, like sort of like the lower budget stuff, like TV animation. Not obviously. I'm not everything excluding Pixar, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, MacGuff, the major feature films, feature animation studios. What's missing a lot is reactions. It's a whole lot of actions after actions after actions after actions, and there's not a lot of reactions. There's not a lot of sort of characters showing how they feel about something that just happened or just was said or whatever. Disney's great at this. I feel like now they are. I just really, really, really like how, Frozen, especially, a lot Entangled too, sure. But I just love how they give the moments enough time to kind of like sink in for the characters. It's really, really great. In the AnimGym, all right, okay, fine. So I said, that stinks, right? That was the topic. That stinks. A stinky smell. All right, so it's obviously opening itself up to a lot more like cartoony stuff. Your choices here, super, super clear. All right, it's obviously a nasty smell. I wouldn't have to know what the topic was for it to be super clear. Okay, however, reactions are sort of like higher level animated moments. They're higher level thinking. They're higher level thoughts, and that is I think a goal, or should be a goal for animators to try to achieve. The ability to kind of show what was said, or kind of demonstrate anything that just happened by the reaction to it. Okay, so in this shot, this is a reaction to a bad smell, which is a very physical thing. But I want you to think about what if the reaction that I was talking about, the reaction that we're going for, was something that was a reaction to more emotional or intangible, not non-physical. What if it was that? and how would you want to go about it? So treat them the same. Of course, everyone's smelling a fart in these animations. And again, it's supposed to be goofy, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody having a little bit of fun. But this is... Well, let's just jump right into it. I feel like this is very, very even and very heavy-handed with the smelling. Okay, you could have shown somebody smelling something. You could have shown them not smelling it, and then just all of a sudden like reacting to it. I guess the nuance. I guess what I'm talking about is the real difference. I'm talking about is, what would your animation look like? In fact, I can show you. Let me trim to selection. What would your animation look like without those smells? Is it as clear? This could be stung by a bee on the nose. This could be, hit by something on the nose and he's like reacting to getting hit. There's the thing that's working for you a lot is actually that bend and that knee lift. It's actually working really well for you, because what it kind of does when you break up the body like that, it kind of shows that the whole body is reacting, and the whole body doesn't react to something that is intangible or non-physical unless we see it. Right? So, like, it's obviously something that was either like said or one of our other senses, either heard or seen or smelled or tasted or whatever. It could also, this kind of, I'm grasping a little bit at straws, I'll admit, that this could be, a bad taste in his mouth, I guess. Or seeing some, like, let's say he's looking up into through an apartment window, and this old fat guy with really, really, really long, like, armpit hairs and like nasty boils all over his body, like, turns, and he's in the shower and he's like that, and that's right when he sees it. Look at his face. Oh God, I didn't want to see that, right? That could be that. You know what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to make is, animate your reactions, any reactions, even a bad smell. Animate your reactions to be as clear and demonstrative. Exhibit what was done, what was the action that this is reacting to, as much as you possibly can, as clearly as possible. And but try to not rely on these hints like smelling. Okay. Right? You could have him, like, right before he turns first, you could have him smell and then like, oh, and then do like a stuck face, like, oh, and then turn. Okay? Just to give us a little bit more face time before he turns. The two sniffs themselves are very evenly timed. So one thing you can do is just to break up the timing. It could be a quick and a slow and a quick. You could add a third one. It could be slow, slow, quick, or quick, slow, slow, or slow, quick, slow, or quick, slow, quick. You start exponentially adding different options to break up the timing as you add more sniffs. But this one does feel just like up and up, and you're starting to already you're off to a little bit of a bad start on your timing and interest with that kind of like even timing. Okay. Then we, so a little bit of attack of the even timing again right here, where his body kind of gets up into this pose, but then kind of like goes back down. This is way too slow. That leg, I'm imagining, looking at this, that from front view, that his planted leg is right here, and this one is sort of like out and is just like hanging there, hovering over the ground for way too many frames. when I'm watching this. So like it really feels that it kind of goes back down again, like really evenly. Attack of the even timing. Okay, so either keep him shifted over this foreground planted leg, and then you can have that leg kind of extend, and he can just finish out that foot plant by rocking back over onto that background leg, or the whole thing needs to be a lot quicker coming down. Okay, if you want to keep some similar timing, but again, not that evenness. I mean, I'm just watching that foot. So you just watch that foot just go very, very, very even time. Not very interesting to watch. And then overall, you can do more dynamic and more kind of pushed poses and still be lower energy, or still be sort of more subtlety. Okay, it's a delicate balance, but it is totally possible. I would just say, start from something that has just a little bit more going for it in terms of, like, the push, of that pose there. It doesn't have to be much in order for it to be just a little bit more interesting to look at. Yours is a little straight up. And by the way, without a strong line of action through your character, we almost don't know what is anticipation and what is sort of just like the end of an action. The end of, like, almost like follow through, like slow follow through. Do you understand what I mean? Without a strong line of action, the audience doesn't really know when something starts moving, if it's against that line of action, meaning that it's going to, then go the other way, or it's just like the character just continuing to do whatever he's doing and then like going to just like settle back to where he was. All right. So this doesn't have a strong enough line of action in this pose to make it feel like when he's tilting away here, that is it anticipation or what is happening? And so sort of the entire moment, the audience loses like 5 or 6, 7 frames of your animation because their eye goes this way and then it starts getting prepared to go the other way because you didn't really set it up. Do you know what I mean? You lose us because we're still going this way. Just a little bit. It's subtle, but it's important. Okay. This is good work. I'd like to see a little bit more polish on that. Push the poses, the line of action, hammer out that even timing. It's a killer, man. It's a killer. Bring it down every time. But great. Thank you for being a part of the AnimGym, James. All right, those are the animations for this month. There's a really kick butt topic. Don't touch that button. It's very, very, very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with it for this month's AnimGym. It's free to participate in the AnimGym. All you need is a forum membership on KennyRoy.com. Just click on the forum button, sign up for a membership. It's free. You guys can talk to each other, show each other your works in progress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every single person that's a KennyRoy.com member, even if you're on the free trial, gets a critique just like the ones you just saw at the end of the month. I really think that is the best way that you can practice and improve your animation on a monthly basis. It's been a lot of fun. I'm Kenny Roy. Thanks a lot. Good luck with your animation. And as always, rock on.